One of the things that always amazes me as I read through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and even into some of the epistles to churches and that, as you read through those, how many times, especially Paul, says, I was faithful. I preached the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. I preached the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. And one of the things this week that I heard, I put down, my title is, I don't need you, and I don't want you. I don't need you, and I don't want you. And we're going to see that in this passage with the people. But one of the things is we preach the gospel, and we share, and we come together and fellowship together, we minister together. Sometimes we think, man, we know these people. They say they're saved. They say they've accepted Christ, and we trust them. And you say, man, how did Paul able to keep doing that? Well, you need to remember as you look through all these the Philippians, Galatians, Ephesians, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, all those. He's going to all these new people teaching the same message to new people. Well, one of the things that just shocked me, one of my friends had actually preached here a couple of times, Marty Hall, as I was plowing him out the other day, and we were talking about our churches and ministry, and his pastor was Pastor Reisdeck, very godly man, loves the Lord, loves to preach. And he said, man, we've had some big changes in our church recently. And he was going through these things, and I said, telling me different things, and he says, and probably the biggest one is Pastor Reisdeck took a job in our community. I said, do you know what you mean? He resigned? Oh no, he's still a pastor. He said, but he began to realize, after 25 years of the same people in the congregation, he's preaching to the choir. And how could he get out and talk to people that he doesn't know? I didn't know this about him, but he's a certified fitness instructor, so he took a job 2 days a week, helping people lose weight so he could share the gospel. And as I'm thinking about that, there's so many opportunities that way of just getting involved in our community in different things that you love to do. And the effect, the positive effect, I think of one of the things that's pretty common in a lot of our local churches is quilting. And the women do these quilting deals, and they're able to get together and meet new women and be able to share their faith and that. And so there's different ways we can do that. But to keep in mind, most people, lots of people, have the attitude, some people, however you want to examine that in your own mind and thought, as I don't need you and I don't want you. As you begin to look, and we're going to look at contrast between Christ's act, man's, my I guess transitional sentence would be, how do you respond to man's reaction? How do you respond to man's reaction as you come before them? We're going to see Jesus' response. But as you start in verse 47, and it says, and while he was still speaking, behold, Judas. So we'll start by here. Remember last week, Jesus went out to the Garden of Gethsemane, wanted to pray, took three of his disciples with him, farther in, and said, stay here, pray, watch. They kept falling asleep. Jesus prayed, and he gets to the end of it. He says, to the end of that passage, he said, behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise and let us be going. See, my betrayal is at hand. And so he's just taking you into this betrayal next, and he says, and while he was still speaking, behold, Judas, one of the 12, with a great multitude, with swords and clubs, came from the chief priests and the elders of the people. So you see, as he's telling this right now, they can come. They can see this mob of people coming. Now, as you look at this, there's some things that happen within the idea of a mob. Oh, multitude of people coming together. There's intimidation in that. As all these people come, they can have an attitude of intimidation where you can be fearful for your actions, fearful for what might happen. So there's some intimidation there. But there's another thing. One thing as Christians, we need to watch out for is there's security in the mob. I can remember one time I had the opportunity to go to San Antonio, Texas, to represent the state of Alaska. And me and this kid from Minnesota who was from a smaller town than Soldotna, and throughout the week there was different things going. We went out down this one street, and there was this huge swimming pool. I mean, it was huge, and it was full of grapes. And you'd wash your feet, and then you'd stand in there and you'd push the grapes, and then you'd have fresh grape juice to drink. Now, I didn't want to drink it, because all I could think about is people's feet. But as we were going through, we were seeing these things and experiencing all this, and we saw this whole big group of people. And we thought, man, there must be another festival going. And so we ran over there, stood there, and then we began to listen. And the Ku Klux Klan was marching. And so there was all this Ku Klux Klan marching, and there was all these people protesting and screaming and hollering. And here was me. I've never seen the Ku Klux Klan, never been around the Ku Klux Klan, never been in a mob before. And me and this kid are standing thinking, we don't support the Ku Klux Klan, but we feared for our lives within that mob. There was security, but there was fear for us. And we said, we need to get away from this. But there was security. They felt safety in that. But also there was fulfillment. You look and it says that this group of people came out. They came out with clubs. They came out with swords. They came out under the order of the chief priests and the elders to get Jesus. And they felt that they were fulfilling their desire to get rid of him. There's fulfillment in this idea. And so as you look, this mob came together, and in coming together, they were saying, you know what? We know what you've done. They've seen the miracles. They've been at many of the miracles. They've seen the things that he's done. They've heard the things that he proclaimed. And coming together to take him, they're saying, you know what? I don't need you, and I don't want you. But look at verse 55, and you'll see the response. And sometimes, as we can learn from Jesus' response to the multitude of how we should react. It says, but Jesus said, in that hour, Jesus said to the multitude, you have come out as against a robber, with swords and with clubs to take me. I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and you did not seize me. But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. As you look here, Jesus questions them. He sees the mob, he knows what they're doing, and he says, you know what? I can't believe you come out with this type of action. What have I done in my ministry that would tell you that you need to come with clubs, swords, and a mob to take me? I've sat right in your churches or your synagogues. I've taught, I've preached, and you didn't do nothing. And he challenges them to think about that. Think about your actions. And as believers, God tells us that. Mary brought up a point. We need to pray about what's going on in our country right now. The actions that are happening. All actions have to represent Christ and how we respond. It can be easy. There could be things that we could say or do, and our actions can hinder the gospel by the way we react. We need to be thinking about it. Christ says, look at it. You come out, you act like this, you do these things, and he questions them. But also he shows his character. He says, you know what, remember what I've done. Think about what I've done. You know, as believers, and as you read through Scripture, we see the truths that are found in it, in his testimony, the things that he's done. He did that to prove who he was as the Messiah. He did that because he loved us, and he cared about us, and he does those things. But as you look at that, he also reminds them of the truth, that he is the Messiah. He's the one, and he's fulfilling Scripture in that. We're going to go back and look at that next. But the first group of people would come and say, you know what? I don't need you, I don't want you, is this mob. A group of people, even leadership of the people, religious leadership of the people is saying, you know what, I don't want you. I don't need you. You know what, and we can, and that happens today. We see that, people saying, I don't want you. We see it, you know, we take God out of everything. We don't want those, his principles or his standards. And I guess the challenge to me as an individual, and to each of us as Christians, is we need to examine ourselves. Because this is a big picture of him saying, the people saying, I don't want you, I don't need you. We want to take you in, we want to sentence you to death, we want to get rid of you. But we could do the same thing and say, you know what? I see God's standard, and I'm a Christian, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this is how I'm supposed to be reacting, but I don't want to do that. It's not that big of a deal if I lie, it's not that big of a deal if I cheat, it's not that big of a deal if I don't follow God's commands. It is. We're rejecting him, we're telling him, your standard by which you want me to live is wrong, and mine is right. And that's what these people were doing here in this mob. And you see that in the next point, the second person who said, I don't need you and I don't want you, in verse 46. I'm working on 43. You know what? I'm going to quit this. I can see Numbers 48. It says, now his betrayer had given them a sign. This is Judas. His betrayer had given them a sign and said, whomever I kiss, he is the one, seize him. And immediately he went up to Jesus and said, greetings, Rabbi, and kissed him. You know what? As we choose to do the things that we want, and what I saw here in Judas is an artificial affection. An artificial affection. He said, you know what? The sign I'm going to give you is going to look at the appearance that I love you, Jesus. But in doing this, I'm sending you off. And as you read through the story later on, I don't think he fully understood. That's why he took the money back and threw it at their feet, that they were going to kill him. You know, but he betrayed them, an artificial affection. You know what? Another thing that causes us to betray him is greed. He didn't go to those scribes and leaderships and the Pharisees and Sadducees and say, you know, I really disagree with everything he's done, and out of that principle, I'm gonna give him to you. He went to them and said, what will you give me if I betray him? So many times, the actions that we take, we think, you know what? If I do this, I might lose this, so I'm just going to be quiet. We don't even have to do something evil. Just reject this or be quiet. Say, I'm not going to make a statement. I'm not going to say nothing. Now, I could give you examples in my life, and I found a lot more boldness in my walk when I was young in my walk. And I probably shared this, I've shared this a number of times with different people, but that hatred or betrayal of being quiet, I can remember as me and my best friend Mike Minogue went to work for a guy up on the Hall Road, cleaning out these big vessels, and he hated God. He hated God. He hated everything about Alaska. His favorite statement as we drive the Hall Road is, you know what's over that mountain? The same blankety-blank stuff that's on this side of the mountain. And he'd say, you know what? I don't know why you go to church. I don't know why you sit under a pastoral leadership. My brother's a pastor. My brother-in-law's a pastor. And he has the easiest job. All he does is go there and collect money from the people and tell them, give. Christians are a bunch of thieves. And he can go on and on and on. Mike and I said, you know what? Man, what do we say? How do we react to this? He can fire us. You know what? He did fire us. And we made it. You know, and we got to the point where Mike and I said, we can't listen to this. I mean, Mike's dad was a retired pastor. You know, but you look at that, this betrayal, he betrays them for greed, artificial affection, and then, but look at Jesus' response. You know, as people, I was mad when Pharaoh fired me and put me in the back of the bread van in Valdez with no seat and drove me all the way back in that bread van. I wanted to go find him and give him a piece of not only my mind but my fist. But you look here, here you have God, and he's being betrayed in this way. And one of the things he says is that kiss, idea of that kiss that he gave him and addressing him as a rabbi, was, like I said, affection, but it was showing him, it was an appearance of, I agree with you. But look what Jesus said in verse 50, and how we should, and a challenge to us of how we should respond. But Jesus said to him, friend. Jesus said to him, friend. Didn't treat him like an enemy. He knew when he dipped the bread into the wine, that was who was going to betray him. And when he saw him coming, he knew he was going to betray him, and yet he says, friend. The same way that he looked at each one of us when we were lost, and he called us, friend, come here. Listen to the gospel. Listen to who I am, what I am. I'm going to save you. I'm going to change you. I'm going to transform you. All those things that make you think that I'm not worthy to be a Christian, all those things that think I don't want anybody to know. I hid it in the closet. I closed the door. I put a deadbolt on it. I can forgive you for that. Even now, you've taken the money. He says, friend. Crying out to him. I put down, open your eyes, is what Jesus was saying. Think about what you're doing, friend. You've walked with me. You've seen my miracles. You've done this, and you're betraying me. And he asked him, why have you come? Now, he knew why he'd come. He only told him that he was coming to be betrayed. But in that action, one of the things that was brought out, he's saying, why have you come? Get it over with. I know he's cried in Gethsemane, God, if there's any way, Father, that this cup can be taken away, that I don't have to suffer, that people can be redeemed any other way, then let that happen. But if not, I'm willing to go. I'm willing to be sacrificed and be the sacrificial lamb that man might have a hope, an opportunity to be saved and come to him. So he said, open your eyes. Then look at, then they came and laid hands on him. And in that, open your heart. Repent. Open your mind, he had that last little bit he could have done. He offered that to him. You know, as people betray us, as people mistreat us, as people do things to us, cause us difficulty, cause us stuff, one of the hardest things is to forgive. One of the hardest things is not to how about not even to rejoice in their calamities when it comes to them, and stuff is happening, or to come up, or to encourage them. And I look here, Christ shows that example clearly to us as believers of how we should act. Now, Judas, you know what? I don't need you, and I don't want you. The second section I want to look at is found in verse 54. No, starting in verse 50. 51. And suddenly, one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. Now, in John 18:10, John tells us who it was. It was Peter. And as you look here, Peter's taking a defensive stance. He says, Jesus, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to protect you, and I'm going to chop off. I'm going to swing my sword. I'm going to start to protect you. But as you look here, and you look at Jesus' response to Peter and to us in verses 52 and 53, it challenges us. But Jesus said to him, put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Or do you think I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? How then should the scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen thus? So what he says to them is, look, I don't need that sort of defense. I don't need that action. What you're doing. Look at it. You know who I am? I'm the Messiah. I'm God in the flesh. He says, you know what? Your little sword is nothing compared to what I can do. I can call up 12 legions of angels. 72,000. If you took what a legion meant in the military form, in the Roman military, I can call up 72,000 angels to protect me right now. Wow. That's our Savior's authority. That's his deity. That's his love. He knew where he was going. He knew what was going to be happening to him. He said, I don't need you to defend you. I don't want you to defend me right now. I'm going to do what God has sent me, what the Father has sent me to do. I don't need you. I don't want you. This just didn't happen. This was foretold. We can look through Scripture. We can see the different stories in Scripture of what was going to happen when the Messiah comes. And next week as we look, we'll see even the Pharisees and the Sadducees, as they questioned him, they asked him, are you the Christ? And when he said it is, instead of examining and saying, let's see what the Scripture says, they said, kill him. You know, and as you look at that action, but he says this in 54 and 56, this is why it happened. In verse 54. How then could the Scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen thus? You know what? The Scriptures tell us in the Old Testament that the mob or group of multitude were going to come. They were going to take him. He was going to be beaten. They tell us all that. Verse 56, he says it again. But all this was done that the Scriptures and the prophets might be fulfilled. God says, you know what? I told you this was going to happen. Now, you know, it's a hard thing for me to wrap around in my head that why God put those Scriptures in there to say this had to happen this way. But what I do know, and I've seen over and over and over through the history of mankind, when God says the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked, Jeremiah, who can know it? He's telling the truth. The heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. As we go through, we could start just with the great evil people like Hitler and some of these other tyrants, Saddam Hussein, different people, and the things that they did to create their power and protect their power and protect their position, to say, look at who I am. They're evil. And in that evilness, when man turns away from God, the people have turned away from God, the religious leadership have turned away from God, he uses that, their own hatred, their own rejection to fulfill his purpose. You know, and as I look at that and I think about that, we have a responsibility. Just like, and you know what? It says at the end of that, after he tells them that the second time, that this is to fulfill Scripture, this is in all the apostles forsook him and fled. They were scared. They fled. They went and hid. We're going to look how a little bit how next week on how Peter kind of snuck around and hid and watched and rejected him as like he said he was. But I want to submit to you today as God's children, God's beloved. He loved us enough to send His Son to die for us. He called each one of us. Scripture says that we didn't choose Him, He chose us. He chose us. Now, to me, that's amazing. Because to me, it always comes back to athletics, because I love athletics. And I can remember so bad wanting to be chosen to play basketball, or to play kickball, or to play whatever thing we were going to be playing on the recess. Now, when I was in elementary school, 5th, 6th grade, I was about the same height, not as big around, but about the same height, and I was on coordinated. I couldn't run, I couldn't do nothing, and I knew that I was going to be the last one picked every single time. And I'd wait, and I was always fearful that Susan was going to get picked before me. Always afraid. Not only are you not going to pick me, but you're going to pick a girl before me. God chose me out. Not because there was anything that I did that I deserved to be picked. He chose me out and he said, hear my word. I had no idea that that's what was happening. He called me, I accepted him, and I followed him, and he chose me out. Just like he's doing here. But you know what? He chose out these disciples, picked them, they knew it. They followed them, and when it got scary and fearful, they forsook him. It happens today. We know what's right. We know what we need to do. We know we need to stand for him, and we forsake him and we flee. As you look and as we go through this story, I believe Christ put this here not only so we see what happened, but that we can see the type of Savior that we have. He says, you know what? Come back. Come here right now. Let me hug you. Let me love on you. Let me use you. Let me send you up. Go do this. Go over here and share. Go over here and minister to this person. God can still use me. God does want to use me. God loves me. He builds that up in us. And so as I look at this, there's a lot of people out there that will say, I don't need you, and I don't want you. All responsibility to say, God loves you. He wants to save you. He wants to work through you. The gospel, to share that, and all the hardship. I've had people tell me, I don't want to have somebody die on a cross, have nails through his hands and his feet, have a sword plunged into his side. I don't want to have someone have to die for me that way. I didn't want it either. But God wanted it. He wanted that relationship that bad for you and me to let his son go through that. To willfully come, to be made flesh and to dwell among us that we might be redeemed. If we be quiet, we don't accept, we don't act, we don't seek him, we're saying loudly, I don't need you, I don't want you.